Welcome to the American Made and Paid Show, the home of free speech and independent thought.
The big story is freedom of speech is really in trouble. The far left knows that at any time they can call for a sponsor boycott of anyone they despise.
It is right here, right now, where you'll get your weekly dose of unfiltered truth.
It's non-negotiable. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. This president has said this as a candidate.
Insight.
Very few people I know could have handled it. We can never, ever let this happen to another president again.
And information that challenges the American way of life.
Welcome, everybody, to the American Made and Paid Show. Zach here, back with Professor Dreg. And today I thought we'd shift gears a little bit, stop talking about boring taxes and politics and everything. You never know. Some of you guys like listening to that type of stuff, but I thought I'd shift gears and talk a little bit about male and female, gender dynamics, that type of thing. And you sent me a pretty funny but unsurprising article. This was literally from just a couple of days ago. It's on Yahoo Lifestyle about a lot of teachers. So when I say teacher, we're talking about women here because most teachers are actually women. That's just a fact. That are actually turning to sugar daddy dating sites to supplement their salaries. Now, I'm not here to belittle anybody. That's not what this is about. But this is important because I do want to discuss it in thorough detail about sugar daddy and sugar baby culture. Because of the internet and because of just how social media and online dating works, there are now, I guess, methods where women can get set up with sugar daddies, which isn't really dating. So I don't know how well you know this, Professor Dreg, but it's not dating. It's it's not prostitution either, as they define it. But it's basically a man who's got money who entertains them and basically pays them to date him. So what are your thoughts on that? And then I'll go into the specifics.
Well, okay. So the reason why I sent that article is based on you bringing up the whole thing about the left normalizing that transgender stuff. You know what I mean? So, and this is like a spinoff of that. So that article,
very not feminist, though. I was actually going to make the comment that they may be normalizing this behavior, but honestly, I was hoping to get to this middle of the show. But I wanted to say that this is very, very clearly conservatism. Now, I'm not saying it's right, but it's what women do. Is what my bottom line is. So
no, but it's true because look. And it kind of goes back, and I wanted to make this maybe a different topic, but it's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of goes into what you're talking about with simping. With how what you believe simping is, and I'm all against simping because it's just horrible. Like, there is nothing worse than simping. But so that's what this is. So it is prostitution, without a doubt. This is just straight prostitution, but this is what they say is okay type of prostitution. Why? Because they're taking advantage of simps. And, if they make a simp into a boyfriend, is it really a sugar daddy, sugar baby, lifestyle, or is it just a stupid guy being this dumb girl's, one of many of her boyfriends?
One of many. That's the key term there, is that you ain't the only one, man. It's your turn tonight. That's all.
No, but that's so crazy.
And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I hate to get into it so quickly, but it's just like, man, once you've been passed around a little bit, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, see, but that's the whole thing because, this really is about prostitution, the different levels of prostitution. This is what this is. What's acceptable types of prostitution?
So the people who make arguments for defending this, right, would be like, well, you're paying for it either ways, whether you're in a relationship or you get married. That's the justification for something like this.
Well, but here's the thing, because gosh darn it, I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations are over, but I think I did tell you about my old days and things like that, right?
Yeah, your questionable past. But
yeah, so And I have an extensive past in this. So the psychology behind it and the business of it is real. It's real, legitimate money.
I can believe that, because from what I'm seeing here, with some of these women taking home $3,000 a month, to $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and their daddies are buying them cars and stuff, like it's real money.
Well, I mean, yeah, I hate to say things like this, but it's true. Why do you think I went into EB5? It was a natural way from being a street hustler, with whatever they do in the streets,
Yeah.
and making this into a legitimate business. I mean, there's a reason why I was able to get government jobs, because I have a special skill set and knowledge that allows me to just automatically get into people's psyche and all this other stuff, because my understanding of sex is a little grotesque, and the more grotesque your knowledge is, the better you are at manipulating people.
Mm-hmm.
So do these teachers, are they manipulating? Hell yeah, they're educated, and they're educators. And the thing is like this: do these teachers honestly deserve that kind of extra quote unquote money a month? You know what I mean? It's like, if you become a teacher, and we spoke about this before, why get into a profession that pays so little? If you want money, make money.
Well, so that's another thing that ties into what we were talking about earlier this week, which is there's no such thing as fair and equal pay. Whenever people say we just want fair and equal pay, listen to just that phrase: fair and equal pay. You can't have both. Fair pay is basically what we're talking about here, which is you get compensated for the job that you do. Hey, if you're an educator, I do agree that educators don't make as much as they should. Both my parents were teachers. I get it. I know how that is. But at the same time, there's just an overwhelming amount of women who go into professions like childcare and psychology and all that just don't pay as much. And if you're not an engineer, or you're working a dangerous job, and it's not about going to college. I just want to make it very, very clear that you could be a PG&E lineman, make $400,000 a year, but it's a dangerous job.
Yeah.
You could die on that job. You could get electric shock. You could fall off the ladder, hurt yourself.
Fall on your head.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the truth.
So what I'm trying to say is, whenever Democrats or the left or feminists are running around demanding fair and equal pay, right? Understand that that phrase alone is actually an oxymoron, because fair pay is what you're getting. Equal pay is also kind of what you're getting, but you can't have fair and equal pay, because if you're a psychologist and the other guy is a, neurologist, that's fair, but it's not equal, because he works a more demanding job. In the marketplace, it demands higher wages. That's just how...
the neurosurgeon.
But before we move on, people, if you're listening to this, right, every time you hear fair and equal pay, understand that those are completely conflicting. You either have fair pay or you have equal pay, but you can't have fair and equal pay.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't have either. Sometimes you don't have fair pay, and you're not going to have equal pay.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? But that's how it works. Because, gosh, I've been listening to a lot of these people, different people, both right and left, and they really don't understand economics. Economics has nothing to do with, Well,
I just wonder also how feminists feel about sugar daddies. Because here's the thing that I mean, again, I'm not for this, but it's conservative. This right here is very conservative.
Wow.
If we're talking about it from an economic standpoint, because it just plays into an inflated role of what men and women do. Men are the providers and women are the nurturers, right? So this right here, when I look at it in two different ways. From a moral standpoint, no, I don't agree, because I believe in marriage, and I believe that, women should play the role. And I think that just, kind of milking these guys is, as a guy, I mean, I wouldn't want gold diggers around, but at the same time, I can appreciate it as a business model from a conservative standpoint. You see what I'm trying to say?
But you know why it's also conservative?
Why?
Because it's the oldest profession.
It is the oldest profession.
Well, no, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And that is, look, prostitution is what the free market should look like. It really should. That's if you...
Because here's the thing. If you think about it, there's no real regulation, which is why it's a black market, right? But it's strictly transactional between two parties. Because here's the thing. I can't go to these women and be like, why are you taking advantage of these men? These men volunteer this kind of money. A guy will go out and buy a car for a girl. Like this lady here, she's obviously going by a title name here. Her name's Nola, right? In this article. For those of you who are curious, it's just if you look up teachers, sugar daddy, you'll see this. But this girl, Nola, the guy flat out just bought her a car without her asking. Like it was like a $10,000 car or whatever on top of the allowance type thing. And see the thing is, I know, but here's the deal. The thing is, the man arguably isn't being conned into doing this. He's volunteering this. There's a lot of lonely men out there. There's a lot of men who like make this kind of money and want to entertain women. In fact, I know a personal friend of mine who dated a very rich man, and dude, I'm her friend. I asked her these questions. I'm like, it's the same thing. She's basically like, yeah, this is just what women do.
Well, but think about this. Now, let's break that down, your scenario, into the free market. Does the girl have to be, because, you know, why do some girls only make $50 an hour and some girls make $1,500 an hour?
Yeah.
Why is that? Is it because they're best looking, or they know how to move the best, or have special skills physically? And the answer is no. These people understand, like the people who make $1,500 an hour, they understand how to market themselves. And that's why this is the oldest profession.
See, you're right. Because here's the deal. People conflate, and you have to understand, man, I'm a sales guy. So I understand this better than anyone else. There's a difference between price and perceived value. You need to understand that price is what the transactional number you're putting on it, but perceived value is ultimately what makes people make a buying decision or not. And this is like a good economic segue for people who are listening, but it's the truth. I sell products that technically, by nature of them, is free information. You could find it on the internet.
Yep.
And you could also, it also costs no money to duplicate the information because it's online, right? And if it's digital, dude, you know, you could copy it 1,000,000 times. It won't cost you anything. It'll cost you just hard disk space. But since everything's in the cloud, you could copy it limitlessly and it wouldn't cost you anything to manufacture. And then we slap a price on it. But the perceived value and the need for wanting to buy, right, depending on their needs and their wants and their desired outcomes, is what causes people to buy. And it's the same thing with prostitution, right? It's not about more skills or better looks. It's how it's being marketed. You know, there's a really funny scene in The Wolf of Wall Street. I think it's The Wolf of Wall Street, but I don't know. I mean, again, I don't support prostitution. I think, you know, I think fornication, all that's a sin, but we just got to call it for what it is. He said something really funny, but it was like, it just makes perfect sense. And it's like this. He was like, well, you got like your Walmart hookers, and then you got like your Marshalls hookers, and then you got your high end. And it was like obviously I wouldn't go around spouting that stuff, but it was pretty funny because it is on point. That's just how it is. Like you're putting a.
But the thing is like this, and like, and I know, you know, because I'm a new Christian, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but in my heart, I'm still for prostitution. And not just because I grew up with it and all this other stuff, or because I'm from the streets. The reason why I'm still for prostitution is because people are desperate. And you know, you can't help, like, look, bottom line is this. If you really want to make money, the best way to make money, if you're a woman, is still through using your body. It's just how it works. Think about this. All of them Spanish. I don't know if you ever watched Spanish TV.
I haven't watched.
If you watch Spanish TV, there is not an ugly chick there, or even Fox News. You watch Fox News?
Yeah.
Come on. They're all dumb as rocks, but they got banging bodies. And that's the thing. So whether you're doing it for Fox News or the telenovelas or whatever, the Univision, with those. I mean, because man, there's no.
You're right though. When I could just a segue real quick. When I went to Spain, there was not an ugly girl anywhere. They're all beautiful people. All of them. They all like take care of themselves. They're all like sun-kissed and everything. And
Yes, in Venezuela, the number one industry for women is Miss Universe. All of those Venezuelans literally industry. That's why there's so many Miss Universes from Venezuela, because it's a real industry. It's just how it goes. And until
just got gifted genetics in some of these countries.
Yeah, it's just it's plastic surgery. The native people aren't that beautiful, but with the magic of surgery, everybody's a supermodel. But and maybe these are genetic differences, but there's most of the dudes in my math class were dudes. Like, I don't think there was I don't remember not one girl in my class beyond trigonometry. There was 0 in calculus and maybe 1 in trigonometry. But I think that's, because...
Oh, man.
But I don't know if it's a genetic thing, but that is,
men are more... So here's the thing. I was literally listening to a sermon from a Baptist pastor breaking down the differences between men and women, because he's calling out the transgenderism and all that.
Yeah.
Men and women are biologically different, and men have more of an inkling towards science and math, right? Which serves as the basis for engineering and construction and all that other stuff that men are, architecture, that type of stuff. But here's the thing that women are good at, right? It's not just about the obvious things like nurturing, which I don't know why people look down on, because that's essential for bringing up children. But they're actually better at detecting body language. Women are better at reading things like, this is really interesting. Women are far more intuitive when it comes to reading body language, like lying and stuff that would fly over a guy's head. Like if your kids were lying to you, women know that, but men can't tell. It's like, oh, you had me fooled. I'm just gonna, so that's a real strength. And why is this important? Because it kind of ties into how women are, right? Like, here's the deal: 90% of men just will not understand women at all, and that's okay. That plays into it. Women, it's a recessive kind of like. It's how male female dynamics, everything is.
No, you're right.
So
no, but that's
oh no, you're breaking
mechanism
up.
Because in the animal kingdom, this is total self-defense mechanism, because the female is the weaker of the species, and they have to be able to read body language.
I don't know if it was, so they're better at detecting body language. Their intuition when it comes to social dynamics is far more advanced than men. Like, men can kind of just sit around and just but
think about this. Who gets sucker punched? Women or men?
Men.
Exactly. Now, this is like a weird thing. This is like a total random statement, but if you ever see a guy put his forearm on his forehead when he's going pee, he's been in prison. You know why? Because,
wait, why is that? That's funny.
Because when you're going to the bathroom in prison, you get hit from behind, and they, when they hit you hard, your head will slam up against the wall and knock you out. If you have your forearm like this, you can't get, because they're gonna push your head harder into your arm. And,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's just weird things like that happens in prison that when a guy's been in prison. It's like,
that's funny as heck.
Like, dude, why the hell are you peeing like that? It's like, oh,
I don't care what anybody says. That's a funny fact. That's like,
no.
But what I was saying about women is I don't know if it was you who said this, but I also heard this in the sermon where he said something random where it's like arm wrestling. Any woman I will beat in arm wrestling. I'm not even the strongest man on the planet, but I will defeat any woman who's not on growth hormone, testosterone, or steroids in arm wrestling. No questions asked. And the thing is, he's kind of right. There's no way a woman will win an arm wrestling match against a man. And I don't say that to be a sexist. I feel like I have to.
No, but
it's the truth. We are biologically different. Now, how does this tie back to conservatism? and what we're talking about? Well, social dynamics, it's just these men are provisional. And everything about what we just talked about should say that. Why I think this is something worth talking about is because I think feminists won't acknowledge this. They won't. You know why? Because it goes against the whole aspect of strong, independent woman, take care of yourself. This is men being provisional on an inflated level. That's why it's conservative, right? That's why it's like, because this is just, you look at seeking arrangement or sugar daddy, sugar baby culture. This is just an inflated, not necessarily moral, but an inflated version of free market economics and conservatism when you look at this.
Well, yeah, this is immoral. I mean,
Yeah, it's immoral, but it is conservative when you talk about fiscal conservatism, right? Because it's like no one's being taxed. Like, think about it. Like, if you're a prostitute, you're not being taxed. You're just not. Like, and another thing is you are agreeing to terms. It's two parties agreeing to a transaction. No government intervention, no taxation, and literally no legislation around that. It is free of government intervention. That's why I want to get people thinking about this. I'm not saying I condone prostitution. I don't. I'm actively against it. But you can look at this and get some critical thought out of it and go, well, this is an example of conservative economics right here.
Well, okay, so let me finish why I'm for prostitution, though. I really am. Not for everybody.
Well, I disagree, but go ahead. Yeah.
I'm not for prostitution for these teachers. I'm really not, because, they're deliberately taking advantage of stupid people. And if you're paying for sex, you're a stupid guy and you got problems. And I've always felt that. That's why, I was taking advantage of all these stupid dudes. You know what I mean? Because whatever. It was an easy way to, to make money growing up. But the reason why I'm for prostitution is because it is a way out. A lot of women will never succeed unless they go through prostitution. Because think about it. What opportunities are given to people who are so desperate that they have to sell their bodies, especially in foreign countries? See, in the States, how many women have to do stripping, have to do prostitution? It's a low percentage, but still a percentage of people that are either abandoned or forgotten. And it really is a way to get out of your situation. If you're a smart girl and, let's say you're growing up out of East Palo Alto in the Bay Area. East Palo Alto is still crappy. And most people cannot live in even in East Palo Alto, let alone afford to live in Palo Alto. So if you grew up in East Palo Alto in, housing and crap like that, rent control, in a rent control place, come on, what type of education you're going to get out of those East Palo Alto schools? Because they don't have teachers over there. How do they even go to school? They get the school system over there in East Palo Alto. It's riddled with a bunch of molesters, bunch of, drug addicts. I mean, these teachers are crap. It's just how it goes. I mean, these kids, when they graduate from any school in East Palo Alto, come on, they're about as educated as a third grader coming out of Kansas. And you're living here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So what options do these people have? Seriously, what are they going to do with no mentors, with no churches? Because how many churches are in East Palo Alto?
Well, so what a conservative would say, right, would be like get to work, or just start working.
Yeah, but that's my point. So what kind of jobs are they going to do? Work at Home Depot, work at McDonald's? They will never come up. And when they have 3 or 4 kids, they will never come up. So for them, prostitution might be a viable way. And you can't hate a person for trying to come up. You just can't. That's why it's like, because somebody goes like this, especially with my, because they were saying, oh, God is punishing you with daughters. And I'm like, no, not even. I said, not even, because you know what? I'm going to give my girl as much opportunities as possible. But if she chooses to be a prostitute or whatever, look, I'm still gonna love her. Will I be disappointed? Yeah, but not for long.
Yeah.
I might be disappointed for about an hour, and
Well,
then
so
but
you
it's her life,
so
and
you
I somehow failed her. You know what I mean? Seriously, if my kid becomes a hooker, I did something wrong, obviously. You know what I mean? So, but then if I give her every single opportunity and she goes, well, you know what? Financially speaking, it's better if I just become a whore and just, make tons of money or whatever. And you can't hate a person for that. You know,
Sure,
like,
sure.
well,
So-
not
Well, what I'm saying is forget the so here's another thing I want to bring up, because think about it on the flip side of the spectrum. After scenarios like that where women come up, right? Think about after they've become wealthy and say they get married to a man, and I don't know if you've ever looked at that list of like divorced women and inherited wealth, and how like I think one woman, maybe Oprah was the only woman on that list
There's
that
only
made their
two
own money. Yeah.
The top 100 richest women in the United States,
Yeah.
only 2 are self-made. Every other woman is through divorce or
Inheritance.
and and that's Oprah and Martha Stewart. For all of this time, you know what I mean? Oprah and Martha Stewart.
Well, so if you include the world, I think J.K. Rowling is on there too, Harry Potter author. So she's another one, and then I think the other one is like
that much. I think she's worth like maybe 100 million or something like that.
Well, but you're so here's the thing though. When I looked at that list, I was like, oh man. I mean, but it is true. Like
even Barbara Walters is only worth 150 million. They're not worth that much. Like the top women, like J.K. Rowling, and they're not. Like Vin Diesel is worth more than J.K. Rowling. You know what I mean? Because Harry Potter didn't do that well in the movie theaters in comparison to the Fast and the Furious. You know what I mean? So it's like, and Vin Diesel owns Fast and the Furious. He owns that franchise. So he franchised it out, Come on, the last Fast and the Furious made 1 point something billion.
Yeah. So back to that. Because here's the thing. There's this whole culture of also like mail order brides, and then rich men just like marrying women to like bring them out of different countries and stuff. It's kind of the similar.
But that's my point. Women are forced into that. You can't. But here's where it's wrong. See that article, the Yahoo article. See, that's wrong, because those women should know better than to try to sell their bodies to make money. They're not desperate. They could do it other ways. There's some show,
right? Because they're also in the United States and they have decent jobs. You could just get another job, but the behavior here is it's just easier to date
or
women.
live within your means. That's the whole point. See,
yeah.
That article, just like Girlfriend Experience of Show on Showtime. There's a show on Showtime called Girlfriend Experience. It's about an attorney who chooses to be a hooker. Because one, it's easier, and you make just as much, if not more, money.
And you can fund your lifestyle. It's more about the lifestyle more than anything.
Yeah, for 4 or 5 days a week, you can make more than an attorney working at the district attorney's office or an associate at a law firm. And that's what these articles are teaching you. See, these articles, like that transgender thing, they're saying to educated women, hey, guess what? Instead of getting married and living a traditional life, become a whore and make your own money.
Yeah, they're normalizing it.
People tell you how to live your life. Live your life the way you want to. But they don't tell you what you got to subject yourself to. Because I guarantee you,
there's got to be some long-term repercussions, right? Like, I mean,
even short-term repercussions. Are you kidding? The minute they're finished, like, damn, what did I just do? I got to put what up where? But they do this stuff. And that's why, some people make more than others, because the psychology behind the men who do these types of things is really twisted. Like, there's something called mongers right now. A monger is somebody who just, it's like a sport. So they just go from one prostitute to the next because they just want to have high numbers. Those types of people are gross, and they make people do gross things. Now think about this. If you read the article, they're like, you know what? I'm going to go to a sugar daddy thing. And then who's on the other line, the other side of the sugar daddy, are a bunch of mongers who could afford to give you $300-400 every time you guys meet, and they're going to make you do gross things. You know what I mean? And people don't talk about stuff like that. And that's why it's like the short-term repercussions. I wouldn't be shocked if half them girls want to commit suicide after they're done. You know what I mean? But then that's why.
Yeah, sadly.
Well, but that's why pimps are so effective. Because now a pimp acts like they're quote unquote daddy. You know what I mean? And then they give, reassurance, and like you got to do a lot of, Dr. Filling to these prostitutes, because why? Because most of them want to kill themselves after their first trick of the night because it's gross.
Right.
And then, the pimp talks them through. It's like, hey, look, this and that. Think about what you could buy, trips to Disneyland. And you know what I mean? They're filling their head with a whole bunch of crap that doesn't exist. Because think about this. According to the article, they need it for the extra income, right? For what? What are they going to use for that extra income?
Spend more.
Yeah, on what?
Gucci.
See, that's the point. And that's what pimps do. So this article is basically acting like a pimp. Because, see, that's what pimps do. Pimps teach the girls why they need that money. Oh, so you can buy this. So you can have this.
Right. See, oh my God. See, only you would be able to know this because you used to.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So you know what I mean? But so you always put the carrot right in front of them. The short-term repercussions are great. Like, seriously, they're all crying. They're all disgusted because of the smells and things like that. Like, seriously. A lot of these dudes are dirty, like not dirty with diseases, just dirty.
They're twisted. They're sick in the head,
Well, yeah, obviously. But think about this: a lot of these dudes don't know how to bathe themselves correctly. You know what I mean? It's like like an average guy. They got average guy smells, but these dudes are extra stinky. And it's just like, but it's just the reality. But that article, when you read that article, it's like, if you're going to be a teacher, why are you chasing a Lamborghini or a BMW? If you're a teacher, why would a teacher have the mentality to own a convertible of any type, whether it's a convertible Camaro or a 1962 Corvette? Why would any teacher want that as a goal? Look, you became a teacher knowing that you're not going to make a lot of money. It's kind of like a preacher. You don't become a preacher to become a billionaire or a millionaire. It's just not what you do. You know what I mean? It's just like certain professions, you shouldn't expect a ton of money. So this article is really like a pimp. That's what they're doing. They're pimping out the transsexuals. They're pimping out these sugar daddy websites. Why? Because they want everybody with that mentality of a prostitute. Because when you got that mentality of a prostitute, guess what? You are not paying attention to what's happening in the world.
Right.
You can't, because your mind is so messed up in the head. How are you going to pay attention to all of these shenanigans? Oh, there's a whistleblower against Trump. What? Who cares? That doesn't affect me. I got to get that stink out of my mouth or in my nostril because that armpit sweat was like, I had to like bury my head and lick his armpits, and it got in my nose. And that's what the girls are thinking, and then you might have read in the article, oh, it's not that bad. It's bad. They just don't admit what they got to do for that money. Think about it. They don't admit it. But whatever you see in a porno, it happens in real life. That's why you go to prostitutes, because you want to reenact what happens in
You want to live out your sick fantasies. And that's the problem with porn too, is that it makes you desensitized to what sex is supposed to be about, you know?
So that's the one aspect of what they're trying to do. What's the second aspect of why they want prostitution so much? The second reason, it breaks down the family. Break down the family, because look, these women, all of these teachers who in the old days used to be like, 'cause you know what? In the old days, you wanted a teacher as your wife. Why? Because she had the summers off. She didn't have to work, you know, that much. You know what I mean?
That makes so much sense. Wow, that just kind of clicked in my head.
No, but think about that, because that was like the perfect profession. You know what I mean? Like teachers, come on, they didn't have to work all the time. They got off at a decent hour. You know what I mean? Like maybe 5 o'clock is when they get off of work. They go to work like at 8. So you know what I mean? They're home. They were the perfect moms.
Yeah.
And now look at them. They're teaching them how to be whores.
Yeah.
Seriously. The once, you know, coveted position, like all men wanted a hot teacher, you know, and as your wife's like, yeah, you know, my teacher, and my wife's a teacher, you know, she's good with kids. And
that's actually what you want, though. I'll be honest. Like, if I got married and I'd probably go for a teacher too.
Yeah, but
but
now they're trying to teach these teachers, hey, look, you guys want the fancy things. You deserve all of these. Fuck the family. You know, forget about raising children. Why destroy your body when you could be a sex object and be sexy forever? And, you know, not realizing that, you know, aging sucks, and you can't be a 50-year-old prostitute. Although I do know one. I should say her name because she probably would like the everybody to go look her up.
No,
but
I don't think that. Okay.
No, but I'm not kidding you. She's an old, like she must be 70, and she's still doing it. And you know, her life sucks, and she knows her life sucks. Because it's always a constant reminder that
it's sad.
Yeah, when you get older, think like when people age, there's mobility issues. It's hard for you to walk around, let alone anything else. You know what I mean? So this lady who's an old school prostitute, come on, she's worried about getting clients instead of worrying about her health, worrying about does she have cancer, or, you know, how's she going to get around, you know, because she can't drive, because a lot of old people don't drive anymore. You know, it's really rare to see anybody over 85 drive. You know, after like 75, or you have eyesight, you know, vision problems, you don't drive anymore. It's just how it goes. So you're dependent on, you know, the public transportation system.
Right.
But imagine you being some prostitute teacher, now you're old. Who in the hell's who are you gonna grow old with? You know what I mean? Like, they're totally destroying how people age. And that's really sad, because the whole point of conservatism is to conserve life at all phases of you know, of your lifespan, from the time of conception to the time you die. If you live a conservative life, guess what? Your life is going to be good. You don't have to worry about ass pulps. You know what I mean? From all that weird sex you've been having. But, you know, if you have, if you're married or something like that, you could depend on your spouse to help you with mobility issues, to help you make appointments or whatever. Or you could depend on your kids. You know, my pops lived with me for 20 years, even though he didn't even, like, my dad never raised me. Right? We got my dad out of Mexico because, you know, he was an illegal. So he was sick. We thought he was dying. So we brought him back to the States on the promise that he would never get social assistance. You know, we pay for everything. So it's fine. So they let him in. And that fucker lived with me for over 20 years. And he's still alive. Over 20 years. I'm thinking that dude just sponged off me for 20. But that's what we do. Even though he didn't raise me and all, he lived in my house for over 20 years. But that's what you do when you have kids. Your kids take care of your parents. It's just what happens. but not if you're a hooker. If you're a hooker, no one's going to take care of you. You honestly believe somebody's going to be your sugar daddy when you're 60, 50, maybe 40, 45, but you're pushing it because most perverts who want a sugar baby aren't looking for 45-year-olds. They're just not. So all of these teachers who are, doing the sugar daddy bullshit, look, go find yourself a husband. And
that's the thing is how often, and that's something we talk about in intergender dynamics, right? How many men are more willing to, I mean, it's not that they wouldn't forgive, but it's just look over the fact that if it's kind of gone around the carousel a little bit, speaking colloquially here, I hate to say
no, but now it comes, what responsibility do men have in all of this? And I'll tell you why. See, because we are so anti-simp, because look, simps are, I don't know any good ways to say it, so it's just usually curse words, but simps are, just bad people. They make all men look bad. I cannot stand simps. I swear to God. Like when I see one, I just, like when I listen to people speak, right? and I listen to a simp, I swear to God, I just want to slap them, just open hand them. Just, that's how much it irks me. But on that note, I still believe men need to act like men again and start paying for dates. No more of this splitting checks and all that. I don't want to say faggy stuff, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that gay crap that gay dudes do. You know what I mean? Like, because gay guys won't pay for a woman's date. Oh, no, we'll split it. Why? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, but there's a reason why men pay for dates.
Oh yeah, I do that now too.
Exactly. Because man has to show that woman that they are capable of taking care not just her, but of the children.
Right.
Because how else is a woman going to know? How else is a woman going to know that this guy is trustworthy?
Bye-bye.
Right. I can hear the counselor like talking. But,
yeah, I know. Well, hold on. Yeah, no, she's going to the
other no, the trustworthy thing. Go ahead. That's
no. But see, but how does a woman know that you're going to be a trustworthy person and a provider for the children? Well, you show by the way you guys date and everything else. And if that woman likes that lifestyle that you have of the dating and everything else, and she accepts it, then you guys are going to be okay. Because why? If a woman's going to wreck her body for having your children, paying for some dates for a couple of years, that's the bare minimum you can do.
That's true, yeah.
Because, come on. Like the counselor, she was a model. She's not a model now. Why? Because she had my baby. So, you know what I mean? But that's just how it goes. I owe it to her to take care of her and the baby. And that's what we're working on. You know what I mean? So I just not going to up and leave her this because I wrecked her body. You know what I mean? I made that conscious choice. We made it together. But you know what I'm saying?
No, you're right. I like how you added that last part in. Oh, we made it. That's
well, yeah, but it's the truth. And that's, you got to, as a man, you got to show women like, hey, look, this and that. And so, like, does the counselor have to get her body back to how it used to be and this and that? No, of course not. Why? Because we're going to grow old together. It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't need to do this. She don't need to do that. I can get, as they say, the dad body. But, like, I'm staying healthy only so that I can live to be 100 and watch the kids get older. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's why you do what you do. Like, as a man, you pay for dates and everything else because you got to show this woman that you're serious. Yeah. And and I'm still on the fence, like, because, like, man, I don't know if I could not have sex before marriage if I was dating somebody. But the thing is not to move in together. As long as you guys don't move in together before you're married, then because you don't want to do all that testing stuff or whatever.
Yeah, aside from the religious connotations with Christianity, right? Even from a secular standpoint, it's been proven that if you cohabitate, you're less likely to stay together. You're less likely to actually have a fulfilled marriage if you decide doing that, right? It's true. And people may say, well, economically it makes sense because you save on rent and everything. Yeah, in the long term, it falls apart. But
No, but it really does.
you don't make a
because-
commitment to the person, you just kind of slide into it. That's the justification.
Well, but the thing is like this too. When you're getting your life together before marriage, you tend to blame your spouse instead of blaming yourself. And that's the problem with
That's an interesting thing, because the way marriage, I guess, in the Bible is designed is you both have to kind of have your stuff figured out and seek God together in your relationship, and then God brings you together. Otherwise, truthfully, there's no point. You got no business getting married.
Yeah, no, but it's the truth. And oh man, so
Yeah, I know.
no, because it was crazy because the counselor was saying we have nothing in common. I'm like, what are you talking? We got nothing in common. But anyway, but it's the truth. It's things like that, kind of like, because a lot of people they go, what do you guys have in common outside of work? And I'm thinking everything. That's
Everything.
the point.
Yeah.
I said that's why we're able to work together, because we have that much in common that we can honestly work together doing the same thing. But because I know a lot of people don't see this, but like a stay-at-home mom, that's a real job. That's actually work.
Yeah.
It ain't easy.
No, homemaking is a legitimate, probably a more difficult job for men, actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, psychologically speaking, no.
Yeah, but that's hard work. Like, yeah.
No, but it is hard because like for me, okay, like personally speaking, it was hard for me to make money and trying to raise a kid. I had to make a choice. Like, you know what? I gotta just screw the job and make money how I make money, through the clubs and doing it the old school way, versus, trying to work a 9-to-5 job that never was 9 to 5, because nursing, which is why I wouldn't marry a nurse, because a lot of times nurses got to work 16-hour shifts. You know what I mean? Can you imagine your wife being gone 16 hours a freaking day?
Well, you got to do what you got to do, but yeah.
No, but think about that. That's why people have affairs, because your wife is gone all day, not all day, 3 or 4 times a week, doing 16-hour shifts because the hospital's short and an emergency happens, because people trip out. Well, I mean, nursing's changed a lot. Machines do everything. But in the old days, when it was more hands-on, man, it was crazy. Like, you couldn't just leave because people's lives are on the line, and then you'd hook up with each other because of the excitement, and it was like a roller coaster, and yeah, it was crazy. Like, nursing's crazy. It's really like General Hospital, like a soap opera.
Yeah.
It's insane. So, but either way, that's why if I was to choose, I'd pick a teacher, like the ideal wife. Teaching. Why? Because it's a predictable work schedule. Weekends are always off, and
Summers are off, holidays are off. It's like,
Yeah.
heck yeah, it's the 4th of July. Let's go have a barbecue with the kids. Like, you want to be able to.
and everyone's gonna remember you. And that's the thing. People remember their teachers.
That's true. That's
The only teacher I don't remember is my first grade teacher. I can't remember her name, but everybody else I remember. From kindergarten all the way up to high school, I remember my teachers, except for because my first grade teacher had a weird last name from Hungary or something like that, like Siberia or something. I don't know. It was something weird. But either way, hell, I even remember my librarian from elementary school. People remember their teachers, and you have an impact. Like, all teachers have the ability to leave a legacy. And that's, everybody's always looking for their legacy, but teachers always automatically have a legacy. Whether the students tell them or not, you're always going to remember your teachers, always. I remember mine, Miss Parker, Miss Gonzalez, very, elementary, and they left an impact on you.
Yeah,
I remember my
true.
Christian mom and dad, just remember them. You know what I mean? And how much, and you elevate them too. You know, I don't know if they know this, but they're elevated in my life. You know, you know, especially my Christian mom and dad. That's insane. But yeah, you know what I mean? They have an impact on you. So I don't know. This whole thing about teachers wanting extra money, you know what I mean? Like, and turning to prostitution. That's insane. Our society is so insane that they believe prostitution somehow is better than being a regular teacher. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
I mean, not imagine, hell, you read it, but that's what's happening. That's the insanity of progressive ideology. It's just how they destroy the family is so diabolical. Like, our normal person, if they were going to destroy the family, they'd say, you know what? Let's just, you know, food stamps, whatever. You know, that's normal way, you know, criminalizing everything, making money off the prison system. But really twisted, diabolical people would destroy the profession of teaching.
Yeah.
And use that as a means to also further destroy the family. Because, you know, women want to work, okay, fine, work. But do you really want to give up family as well? Well, as a teacher, you could have both. You know what I mean? You can teach and you can, you know, be a mother, you know, and then share the responsibilities with the dad. You know what I mean? Let the dad, you know, work from home. Mom can go teach or whatever, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
Let it be honorable, but no, not for these progressives. That article is really, it was like reading, like, man, this is like a manual on how to pimp. That article.
It is, and that's why when I read it, I had to talk about it, because you see, people will read that and gloss over, formulate an opinion, but man, like, normalizing this behavior, and I mean, we spoke about it for an hour, so I hope everybody kind of has a better understanding as to why it is we pick this stuff apart. But ever since I started talking to you, I started to notice these things more. It's just like, I mean, because who's going to look at that and go, well, it's conservative. It is conservative, but it's not right. It's not moral, but it is conservative.
Well, that always serves, well, like, from a new Christian perspective, it serves as a reminder that we have a long way to go. When women are forced into prostitution, we have a long way to go as a society. Because think about it, it's a real industry in Venezuela. It's an industry in the streets. But now they're trying to make it an industry for teachers to get into. And now, you know, we are really damned. Like, our society is damned when they're normalizing prostitution for teachers. Because obviously not everybody could afford Showtime, and that wasn't enough. So they're like, you know what, let's make an article about teachers doing this, not just lawyers, you know, who have $200,000 in student loan debt, you know. And I think that was the whole purpose of, like, Girlfriend. It's a good show. It's written well, and you see the conflict, you know, that this lawyer goes through and things like that. And she was debating. She's like, you know, why go through all of this stress of fighting, looking at all the ugly and all this other stuff that lawyers got to see through at the district attorney's office, because you're dealing with murderers, rapists, and stuff like that. And then they try to glamorize this sex stuff, and it's like, it ain't so bad. It's just nice guys who are just wanting a little, you know, they can't be monogamous, you know what I mean? It's not that bad. So they try to glorify it, but in reality, I know better. These chicks gotta be licking stinky, dirty spots where normal people don't do. You know what I mean? Like all that foot fetish crap. It's gross.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All that fungus, and not just STDs, but just normal stuff that's just so gross. You don't want to be sucking on people's toenails. That's gross. But if you're a prostitute, that's your job. And you got to do all that weird stuff. So to normalize all of that behavior is insane. And again, I think we did a pretty good job breaking it down today.
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts? Because we'll probably end it.
Yeah, I know the hour's almost up, but no final thoughts other than I'm glad we talked about it.
No, it's entertaining to talk about, but it's also, I hope people got some value out of this. But thank you guys for tuning into the show. Continue to keep us posted. Write in to my email, because we like to cover topics too. And leave us an iTunes review if you haven't done so already. All right. Take care, guys.